Welcome to Explaining the Plays Renathal Quest Hunter. I'm Uncorrupt, and I'm going to be guiding you through some games that I'm playing, talking about my thought process, what I'm doing, as well as what my opponent is doing. And I'd like to encourage you to maybe think about things in a way that you haven't thought about them before, and that is that you actually start to play before you click the play button here and get into the mulligan and get into your opponent's class, so on and so forth. And I want to also encourage you, while you're playing not only this deck, but really any Hearthstone deck, and maybe really even anything you do in life, is to be able to answer these two high-impact questions. The highest impact question you could ever ask is why? Second highest impact question is how. So specifically for what we're talking about here, why am I playing Renathal Quest Hunter? Reason for that is pretty simple for me right now. I think the deck is fun. I would encourage you to always play a deck that you think is fun when you're playing Hearthstone. You're going to perform better. Even if, say there's a tier 1 deck and your favorite is a tier 2 deck, play what you like, play what's fun. You're going to have better results like that. I think the deck is fun, and then the other reason as far as why I'm playing this deck, I feel like Renathal Quest Hunter is positioned pretty well in the meta to be able to win games, and, at least at this point in time right now, I would like to be able to win some Hearthstone games and, maybe be able to push my rank just a little bit higher. So the second question that we want to answer, really, before we press play and get into the game is, how does the deck win games? We want to make sure that we have an understanding of what we're going to be doing to actually be able to win games, and we want to make sure that our decision-making process throughout the game aligns with how the deck wins games. We don't want to just go off and be doing crazy stuff and possibly throw away our chance to be able to win the game. So with this particular deck, it's a really easy question to answer. We're going to win by completing the quest, and then finishing our opponent off from there with a series of hero powers, whether that just be deal 2 damage to our opponent's face, or if it's the hero power that's created by playing Beast Stalker Tavish. So we're going to get more into those decisions and a little bit more specific about the how along the way, but going into the game, I'm confident that I'm playing a deck that's fun, that I like. I'm confident that I'm playing a deck that's going to be pretty good against most, if not everything, that I queue into on the ladder. And then I'm confident that I know how this deck is going to be able to win games. So at this point, we're actually going to be ready to go on and hit play and get into the game to find our opponent. So right off the bat here, we're going to be up against Priest. I'm going to assume that this is Quest Priest. Quest Priest, of course, is something that's gained popularity here recently. If not Priest, it would be Rogue. It's not really going to change our mulligan all that much. Of course, we always keep the Quest. And I'm going to keep these just because these are damage spells here. I feel like with these 40-card Renathal decks that you really have to be willing to keep cards that are, just good enough. It's kind of a dubious prospect to say, I'm going to look, specifically for, Quick Shot or any other specific card in the deck, because with 40 cards, it's going to be a lot less likely that you're going to be able to find exactly the card that you're looking for in the mulligan. So I like to keep damage spells because we want to be advancing the quest to be able to complete the quest, and the reason why I want to be able to do those things is because that's how I win the game. So just keeping focus on how my deck is going to be able to win the game. And then also how my deck wins the game is going to affect other decisions that I make in the game. So for example, if this turns out to be Rogue, I'm not necessarily going to be shooting my damage spells into my opponent's face. I tend to like to play this as more of like a control deck. And this actually looks like it's going to be either Boar Priest or Naga Priest. So we are going to... Ooh, that's interesting. If it's Boar Priest, we need to kill our opponent as quickly as possible, in which case we would need to start shooting damage spells in our opponent's face. If it's Naga Priest, we need to save our spells and use them as removal. I'm just going to hero power here, and hopefully we can find out pretty quickly whether or not it is either Boar or Naga Priest. But really just kind of playing this more of like a control deck. Against decks that want to build a board, we just want to remove their board. We're going to be able to stay safe. We have our 10 extra health. And then once we're able to actually complete the quest, then we're going to be better positioned to be able to remove our opponent's life and actually just kill them. So I'm going to want to remove this. It is going to be Naga Priest, so I need to keep their board as clear as possible. Should be a good matchup for us. This is a pretty straightforward turn, I think. We're just going to go Wound Prey and Barb Nets. It is going to cause us to float a mana, but there's no other way that we're going to be able to remove this minion, so We're just going to go ahead and get rid of this. Make sure our opponent doesn't have a minion on the board to be able to buff up. And then this is also going to complete part 1 of the quest, which is going to give us the option to actually be able to ping also minions on the board. So again, we're just going to play this like Control and continue to remove our opponent's board. And then at some point, probably once we complete the quest, we're going to change to dealing damage to our opponent's face and really look to close out the game. So Control early, and then we're going to move into a burn game plan. And that's going to be pretty similar against other classes that want to have a board presence, like Rogue, like Shaman. Anything that wants to put minions on the board, we need to kill those minions to make sure that we can actually survive and not take damage. So, a bit of a choice here. We could aim shot and float a mana, or we could march shot and actually discover a spell. It spends all of our mana. Of course, 3 damage lines up perfectly with the health of the minion. This is 4 damage. To me, this is really, I hate to say no-brainer, but the correct play here is going to be to actually play the march shot. We're going to try to discover a spell that we could play next turn, either 2 or 1 damaging spell, to play alongside aim shot on turn 5 here. So unfortunately, we do not hit a damage spell that we can play alongside aim shot. We could take the deadly shot. That's going to be just good removal. We could also take Dunbaldar Bunker, and we're going to be able to draw things like Explosive Trap, Freezing Trap, and Ice Trap, which are going to be beneficial to us as well. Deadly Shot is pretty appealing, though. But ultimately, I'm going to take the Dunbaldar Bunker. So next turn, we'll be able to aim shots. We'll have a free hero power, and then we'll get the bunker down and start drawing into some of our secrets. Freezing traps, of course, are going to be good. Naga Priest has no burst, no reach of any kind. They're going to have to stick a minion on the board, they're going to have to buff it up, and they're going to have to be able to hit us in the face in order to do damage. And that's why Deadly Shot was so appealing. I was not going to be able to spend my mana efficiently if I'd taken the Deadly Shot, you know, unless I was going to top deck or potentially just draw 1 from Furious Howl. But, you know, Deadly Shot, if my opponent goes all in on 1 big minion, and Deadly Shot's able to remove it, then that's really, really good for us. We're also going to be able to activate the Ancient Kraken here as well. Question's going to be, will we ping our opponent face? And I think we actually want to save this damage because we're going to be out of ways to deal damage from hand outside of Kraken. And we're still kind of in the phase of the game where we want to control the board. We need to make sure our opponent doesn't make like a board with some buffed up minions that we're actually not able to handle. So I'm just going to remove this. I'm going to play the Dunbaldar Bunker. And then I'm actually just going to pass turn, and I'm going to hold my hero power here. That might look a little bit weird. I think that it's the correct thing to do. We're just going to play safe and make sure that our opponent actually can't kill us. And we're likely definitely going to be wanting to play our Ice Trap so that we can start to draw additional cards off of Multicaster. So I believe this will be the first spell with a spell school that we've played this game. So if we were to go, say, Ice Trap Multicaster, we would only draw 1. That's a bit of a weak turn. Probably consider just drawing off of Furious Howl 1 card, though, because with a Multicaster in hands, we're likely never going to be able to draw more than 1 off of Furious Howl anyway, and it's going to help us to be able to spend our mana. And we're going to have some minions coming down. We'll actually be able to remove both of these, I think, with Kraken and Hero Power. So we can go like Kraken, Ice Trap, and Furious Howl. We also have a tracking in hand, so we could track first. That'll mean that we're not able to play the Furious Howl, but it might be actually a little bit better to select something from our deck than just take our top deck. So we're going to track. And we're actually going to take the Shell Shot here. Shell Shot is going to be a damage spell, and it's also good removal. And then we're just going to keep to the plan. I can actually remove this. I'm going to remove this. And I could Ice Trap here. It's going to hurt their ability to be able to replay like a Wig. Or I could just draw another card. I think I want to start building up my Multicaster draws, though. So this line of play does float a mana. Explosive Trap is good. We're going to want to get this down. That's going to help us be able to advance our quest. We're going to bounce the Wig back to their hand. It costs 2 mana now. So they will still be able to buff this if they choose. Shell Shot is going to remove the Treasure Guard, no problem whatsoever. So we're feeling pretty good here. We still need 2 more damage spells to be able to complete our quest. And once our quest is complete, we're still going to want to be careful. We're going to make sure that our opponent can't actually kill us in a single turn. And we're just going to make our trades here. So we can actually, let's see, 3, 2, and 1, and then this. We're actually going to be able to preserve the 3, 2 on the board, and we're going to be able to complete the quest this turn. So I'm going to Shell Shot first, and even if the 3 damage hits this, and then 2, and then 1 here, this would be at 5. Piercing Shot is going to clean that up really nicely. Shell Shot, of course, is also a nature spell, so it's going to be able to build our multicaster draws up to 2. Pretty straightforward turn. And that worked out nicely. And we're going to make sure that we spend our hero power this turn. So I saved it previously because it was a 4 damage hero power with the aim shot. It's only 2 damage here, so if we don't actually hero power our opponent, it's just missing 2 damage for no reason whatsoever. We now have a freezing trap in hand. So very shortly, our multicaster is going to be able to draw 3, plus we have a draw from Furious Howl. Freezing Trap is going to protect us from minions on the board. So feeling really good about this game and being able to finish off our opponent. Even though they're drawing a lot of cards, we're not overly concerned. So I'm actually just going to ping off this guy. We're going to go ahead and play the hero card. Going to Explosive Trap, and at this point the damage is just going face. Because the Freezing Trap is going to be coming into play, I don't have to worry about the Treasure Guard getting built up and being able to kill us. Plus from 40 health, likely we wouldn't die anyway. I believe the only rush card that they have in their deck is actually going to be the Samuro. So if they play Samuro, Samuro could get bounced back to hand. That would leave them this, but we're just going to pass turn here. We could consider trading minions into this just to get it down to 4 health. It makes Bless less impactful, but with the Freezing Trap in play, I think we're going to be okay. They're going to have the potential to be able to make this thing really big, so we may have to send a couple of pings into, or damage into other things that are on the board just to make sure that we don't die here. Next turn, they can potentially do a lot of damage to us. If they have a Bless, which they should because there's only 12 cards left in their deck. And they're just trying to make sure that we're not going to be able to kill the Najak here to be able to get back our 7/7. And then you can see the big Bless there. So our opponent actually has 25. Are we going to be able to kill him? We have 2. We have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's actually looking kind of close this game. Our opponent's had a pretty powerful turn here. They're at 25. That means they need 15 damage. They're going to have second Bless to be able to kill us. So I think we just don't worry about it. And I'm actually going to just draw from the Furious Howl, because if we hit the second aim shots, we could potentially just kill our opponent. This is going to give us 2 draws. Dunbaldar Bunker and Barb Nets. And Barb Nets is actually going to give us our lethal here. So, other option, of course, we could have used Multicaster, but we wouldn't have had enough mana to be able to do other things. So you can see that worked out pretty well here. So, again, just staying focused on how we win with our deck, and then thinking about how our opponent is going to win with their deck, and we're going to be on to the next game. So our next opponent is Rogue, and this is going to mean that they're actually Bomb Rogue, which is going to be a bit of a daunting task. So I'm definitely going to toss the minion, and I think I actually want to toss the Arcane Shot. In almost every other matchup I would keep the Arcane Shot because it's a damage spell that's going to help advance our quest. The issue that we're going to have with this deck is just dying to the deck. If they roll out a bunch of 5/8s, we could potentially be in trouble. And bomb damage, even being at 40 health, it makes it a bit more challenging, but not impossible. So I really feel like I'm going to want to look for something. Do I, though? Yeah, I think so. Beaststalker Tavish actually wouldn't be bad in this matchup for extra healing. I certainly think there are matchups that you don't want to play Beaststalker Tavish. Certainly in the mirror match, it's just kind of a damage race, and we would want to be able to just complete the quest as quickly as possible, spinning our burn spells on our opponent's face. In other matchups, you really don't want to play Tavish after you've set your hero power to 0, which is going to limit the amount of times that you would want to be able to use spells, no more than 3 damaging spells before you're able to play that Tavish. So Arcane Shot and Shell Shot will actually pump our multicaster to 2 draws here. I think we're actually just going to hero power, though. It's going to spend our mana. It does the same 2 damage that Arcane Shot does, and then it gives us some flexibility. Our opponent puts out a mine. We're going to want to kill this immediately just to make sure that we take the damage before they're able to get down the Snowfall Graveyard. This is actually a pretty good development for us. And Dunbaldar Bunker, I think, is also going to be good for us. Just being able to have access, hopefully, to Ice Trap and even Freezing Trap for the Forsaken Lieutenants could be pretty good for us here. So, pretty straightforward turn there. And likely we're going to be playing... we're going to play the Ice Trap for sure this next turn. Trickster Smokescreen. A bit fortunate for us here that they didn't have a Snowfall Graveyard in play. And they actually missed on all of their Death Rattles, which is good news for us. We have an Explosive Trap here now as well. I think we go ahead and play our Explosive Trap. It's interesting. I'm considering Spring Trap because it spends all of our mana, and we don't get the honorable kill, but it does still pull 1 secret out of our deck. Could even just Piercing Shot, that's going to get 4 damage into our opponent's face, and we could save something like this for a Shatter Shambler just to make sure that we get 2 secrets instead of 1. I think that sounds pretty good. We're going to be a little bit more greedy with the Spring the Trap, so we're going to go ahead and do this, get the damage in our opponent's face, and that's going to clear up part 1 of our quest here. And I'm actually considering coining out the Ice Trap. I think I'm going to go ahead and just get the Ice Trap in play here. Freezing Trap is going to be good for us as well. Any minion that hits the board will be able to bounce back to our opponent's hand. I'm thinking specifically about Forsaken Lieutenants. They test for Explosive. Prep gets bounced back. Here's the Shambler. And fortunately still no Snowfall Graveyard. So we're going to Spring the Trap. And we could actually Freezing Trap and then Spring the Trap on the Shambler. And then that's going to guarantee that we'll get Explosive and second Ice Trap. Because we only run 3 traps, if we have 1 in play, of course, then we're only going to have access to the other 2. Then that's going to give us 1 more advancement here on our quest. And then just having the Explosive Trap in play is also, once that's triggered, it's going to also give us the... going to complete part 2 here. So we also now have a second Freezing Trap in play. Again, these are things that are going to be potentially relevant. Looks like we blocked another Preparation. Still relatively healthy. If we draw Tavish this turn, I would likely just go ahead and play it. If I'm not able to play Tavish, or if they proc the Explosive Trap, then Tavish is just a no-go. At that point, it would be an absolute emergency card of, oh no, we're getting ready to die. But even then, it may not win us the game, it may just actually postpone the game slightly. Unfortunately here we have no damage spells in hand, so we're just going to have to play out a minion. And I don't think we even have... Yeah, we don't even have any more traps in our deck. We're just going to shoot damage face. Our opponent's likely getting ready to go off. They have this turn and the next turn with the Snowfall Graveyard. Again, if they don't proc the Explosive Trap, I would likely just go ahead and get a Beast Stalker Tavish down. It's going to heal us a little bit, and you're able to win this matchup with the minions, as well as the direct damage from hero powers. One of these Forsaken Lieutenants is going to get bounced back into our opponent's hand, and that was actually the second bomb. Oh, unfortunately, yeah, okay. So we just took a ton of damage here because of the Explosive Trap. So actually having the Explosive Trap in play there may be a misplay. So we're dead to second Wicked Stab. And we still just don't have a way to be able to complete our quest. We don't have any more ice traps. We're going to get the Kodo Bane down. And we're going to go ahead and do this. So again, next turn, I mean, we're just low on spells to be able to finish off our opponent. We don't have actually any direct damage spells. And there actually is the second Wicked Stab, so unfortunate for us here. The Explosive Trap actually worked against us, so I think that's a learning for you know, future games against Bomb Rogue. Explosive Trap is actually bad. If I'd been able to bounce one of those Forsaken Lieutenants back to our opponent's hand and we would have not taken that 8 damage, it may have actually been enough to totally close the game out. So definitely a key learning there that I want to take with me to the next game. Back for another game. Looks like we're up against Priest again. I'm going to keep Spring the Trap just because it is a damage spell. The 4 mana cost doesn't really bother me all that much. Thinking about that last game, it was a combination of poor draw. It does look like a Quest Priest. I think it was a combination of poor draw and the Explosive Trap situation did seem to be just a misplay. Unfortunately, our opponent being able to kill those 2 transformed Forsaken Lieutenants and dealing that much damage in a single turn. I say it was a poor draw because we didn't actually hit our direct damage spells, our burn, to be able to complete the quest and finish off our opponent, which is unusual because I believe we were at turn, what was it, turn 8 when we died? It's going to hero power here. Typically, Quest Priest is not going to be doing a lot of healing. Some lists run 2 Desperate Prayers, some don't. Typically, they're just going to want to be spending their mana, completing the quest, like 2 mana on 2, 3 mana on 3. We're not going to see a lot of hero powers. I think they'll definitely run Gift of the Nauru. Question being, how do we want to go about spending our mana this turn? Pretty much, I think we just want to complete the quest as quickly as possible against Quest Priest here and then work on burning our opponent. I'm going to go ahead and Wound Prey. Make that trade. And then there's really no problem with just shooting Quick Shot into our opponent's face. They're likely not going to be able to put a lot of pressure on the board. You know, I'm not expecting to die from a wide board against a Quest Priest, so it's really more about just damaging our opponent and trying to set up the kill before they're actually able to complete their quest. This next turn is likely even just going to be, yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward just Kraken and Wound Prey here. This is going to spend our mana, does maximum damage to our opponent, so we've been able to get through the first 11 health. We are expecting our opponent to be able to heal some, but probably not a lot throughout the course of the match. We just want to make sure that we're not too slow actually getting there when it comes to finding lethal against our opponent, because if we're too slow, they're going to complete the quest, and they're actually going to kill us with that purified shard. So we want to continue to try to pressure our opponent's health total in this matchup. This is going to be blocking a spell. We're going to have to actually make a trade for this, I think. And maybe we even spring the trap on our own minion. We actually hit tracking here. Is it worth throwing away the tracking? We throw away tracking, we'll be able to make this trade, spring the trap, and maintain this, but I think we're really going to want to look for some card draw here, so I'm just going to go ahead and make this trade, see what we get off of tracking. Draw a Naga and a spell, or draw more secrets. Drawing secrets is going to allow us to thin our deck as efficiently as possible, and I'm going to hold on to going to hold on to the ice trap here, just because I want to be able to hopefully ice trap something a bit more impactful. Our opponent still has the coin. They would just throw away their coin into the ice trap, and there's certainly more powerful spells that we would like to try to be able to block. Also, our opponent at some point may play Behemoth, the Priest Colossal, that's going to heal them for 8. At which point, hopefully, we're going to need the damage to be able to remove that. That is a 6 cost. If we freezing trap this back, it goes to 8. But we can go freezing trap, ice trap, Furious Howl, and that's going to let us draw 2 cards. I feel like that's going to be our best bet here. So you can see our game plan has changed just a little bit. And I believe we're just going to go ahead and spend mana here. This is going to give us a free hero power. It guarantees 2 damage every single turn. So if nothing else, it's going to counteract our opponent's hero power. And as you can see, as I've also been discussing, our opponent actually has not hero powered a single turn this entire game, so it's just not something that deck really wants to do. It feels like we're going to need a bit more impactful card draw here if we're going to be able to find the things that we need in order to complete our quest and then actually be able to kill our opponent. Kodo Bane's a good draw. As well as the multicasters. Could actually just ping here, spring the trap, gets even more secrets out of our deck. We could pull Ice Trap and Explosive Trap, then we don't have to play this one from our hand just yet. But that's going to thin our deck and hopefully allow us better chances of being able to draw into things like damage spells. There's a quick shot. So we can actually complete the quest this turn. And I think that's exactly what we want to do. Our opponent does play Mutinous, I would assume. If they're able to Mutinous our quest reward, that would be pretty much game losing for us, though. So we are going to, let's see. If I play Spring the Trap, it guarantees an explosive. In which case our opponent could... Actually, I don't think it triggers because Freezing Trap was in place first. There is a bug with how secrets are resolved, but I think this gets frozen back first, and the explosive actually doesn't go off here. If they are somehow able to get the explosive trap off, then that would mean that the Tavish would be in our hand, and then we would be open to a Mutinous play. But I think we're going to be okay here. I'm almost positive since I learned that the secrets are bugged that I've been in this situation, and if they attack, Freezing Trap goes off, Explosive Trap does not. Our opponent actually has not checked for any trap whatsoever. If we can get the Tavish down next turn, Again, we're likely going to need just a little bit of card draw, but we're going to be hopefully on a quick path to be able to lethal our opponent in a couple of turns. They still need to play a 7, then they'll need to play an 8, then they'll need to play the quest, then they'll have to find the reward. They're at least 4 turns away from being able to kill us. And that's with good luck drawing the Purified Shard here, so I believe we're going to be fine. There's the multicaster. That's good news for us. So we're going to do this. And we're going to play our quest reward. Unfortunately, all the spells we have in our hand are actually traps. So that's going to be the end of our turn this turn. And actually probably a really good play from our opponents. I guess they know that we have other traps in hand because of the Dunbaldar Bunker that was played. And if they don't proc these traps, then we can't play the other traps that are in our hand. So definitely good play from our opponent, I think. So we have not played Arcane. We have not played Nature. I believe we've only played Frost. So at this point, this only draws 1. Fortunately, our opponent not playing the Behemoth because we don't have any way to be able to remove it. If they get that big 8 damage lifesteal minion on the board, that's going to be a real pain since we don't have the resources to actually kill it at this moment. If they play it and heal once, it's not that big a deal. Is an aim shot. The question is, I mean, do we just want to play the multicaster to draw 1? And I think the answer to that is actually no, we don't want to do that. Because if we put this on the board and our opponent does play the Behemoth, this is just a minion on the board that will be forced to attack it. So we're actually playing around our opponent having the Behemoth. They need to play an 8-cost card. Hoping they don't have it here, that would buy us at least 1 additional turn. At some point we may just have to throw this down to attempt to find lethal. We'll be able to replay an Ice Trap, so that's going to be an additional 2 damage next turn now, which is good news for us. Arc Shot would be a good draw here, and of course Arcane and Shell Shot to be able to pump up our multicaster a little bit more would be good draws. Aim Shot, just for the damage. Furious Howl for a little bit of draw. We're pretty close to being able to kill our opponent. They're playing very carefully, but they're not really making a whole lot of progress. And unable to heal because we don't have a minion on the board. There's the Desperate Prayer. So we have 2, 4, 5 with this. To get the Ice Trap down. And we're just going to pass turn back to our opponent. Again, I don't want to put a minion on the board because it's going to give them a way to be able to heal. They are running Desperate Prayers. Probably unlikely that they have the second one. If they did, I think they would have played it. This advances the quest, heals them for... Actually, they're going to be able to heal for a lot, so we're kind of running into trouble because we don't have cards to be able to play to be able to deal damage, so they'll be able to heal 5 every other turn now. Feels like we're at a point where we're just going to have to try to find other stuff to do. So again, just kind of a bad draw. I think you run into that with these 40-card decks. I've never seen it be quite this extreme, though. We've drawn half of our deck, and pretty much the half that's left is all of our damage spells. Almost all damage spells. Opponent's back up to 20. Again, not a super huge deal, and them having the hero and this hero power, also not a super huge deal. There's an arcane shot. This is going to allow the multicaster to draw 2, which I think at this point it's time to just go ahead and cash in on it, because we're really going to be hoping to set up lethal the following turn before they get another hero power that heals. The behemoth here is really bad for us, but I believe it is what it is at this point. We just have to try to make some moves. And we're going to pass turn, so piercing shot is potentially an okay draw, but it's not going to be a whole lot of damage, and Tavish is actually near worthless, and we really don't want to be playing this. 2. Also pretty likely that we're just dead next turn. Hopefully our opponent does not hit second Desperate Prayer. It's going to be really hard to kill him if they're able to go to 19 here. We have 2, we can get 5 out of this, that's 7. Our opponent's still not attacking. That's definitely, I think, the correct play from him. 2 piercing shots. I think it's enough with the with this. So make sure we do it in the right order here. And the other low health minion. And our opponent actually just dies here. So I do think our opponent played this very, very well by not attacking, making sure that we couldn't play the secrets that they knew we had in our hand, not proccing the explosive trap to advance the quest. So kudos to our opponent here. I do think they played really, really well. I think we're just favored. I do think we still kind of had a bad draw. I think with like what I would consider to be a standard draw with Quest Hunter, I believe we're actually to end that game a couple of turns earlier than we did. But we were still able to get there, even through our opponent having the hero power, a Desperate Prayer, the hero card that led to the 5 heal hero power. So overall, a solid game. This deck, again, for me, it's just fun. And that's going to do it for the video. This is Explaining the Plays. I'm Uncorrupt. Thank you for watching, and good luck out on the ladder. I'll catch you next time.